So good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's topic to the International Yoga Day for 2021. So every year when they have the International Yoga Day, they have a theme. And last year, I believe it was on family. Linking very much in with COVID, the pandemic, and people being at home. And this year, the yoga sort of the theme is well-being. And once again, linking into the pandemic, you know, how people's lives have been changed so drastically, and how even though people may not be able to go outside in many different parts of the world, we're actually very lucky here in Australia. People that don't have, you know, they can't work, they can't go outside, things aren't going so well. What we can do is look after our mental, physical, and spiritual well-being. And so this is one of the components that we're going to explore tonight in terms of yoga. So the International Yoga Day was put together by the Prime Minister at the time, Prime Minister Modi, in 2014 in September. And he pushed quite hard actually to get this up and running in India. And ever since that time, it has every day, every 21st, I think, of the month, every year, there's a day dedicated to yoga. In fact, on the other half as well, we're talking about meditation tonight too. And meditation, the day for meditation is in May. So both of these topics are celebrated worldwide. And whilst they're celebrated on different days, they're very, very linked together, I find. And so yoga is originated in India, as you probably know, many, many hundreds, maybe even a couple of thousand of years or 1,000 years ago, by Patanjali, I think is the person's name. And he really put together a book that's very famous called Autobiography of a Yogi. Some of you may or may not have read that, but it takes you through quite an extraordinary life that he had, many visions, many experiences, occult experiences that he had through his journey. And from then on, yoga has grown. And to now, where it's actually become quite mainstream. When I started doing yoga in 2008, I did my yoga teacher training in Gold Coast. I was living there at the time, and it was incredibly, it was really quite mainstream on the Gold Coast before it sort of came to Melbourne. I'm from Melbourne, and I was often doing yoga in Melbourne as well, but in Queensland, I just noticed it was everywhere. And I'm very naturally very fit, and I love exercise. So yoga was something that really linked in with my meditation practice, because I've been meditating for many years, as Jackie mentioned. And so while I'm love and am incredibly interested in how the mind works and the power of thought, and how meditation helps you actually change, can help bring absolute change and transformation to our personality, to things in ourselves that we thought we could never change. Meditation has helped me and many others to make significant changes in their personality for the better. In the same way, yoga, which is very much focuses on the union or the connection between the body and consciousness, conscious awareness. So when we do yoga, one of the first things, and I imagine probably a few of you out there have done a lot of yoga, maybe more than me, and probably know a little bit more about it. Nevertheless, I find with yoga, there's lots of, the more you start doing it, and it's very similar to meditation, but the more you start doing it, the more you realize it's all about the intricacies as opposed to the flow or the downward dog and the vinyasa or the type of yoga you do. Because when you do a yoga pose, to actually, it's not about being able to do the pose, it's about your intention, and that you're open to working toward achieving that. And so, similar to meditation, we may have an aim in our meditation to become more flexible and more cooperative with others. But we all know that that might be our aim, but it's very much a journey before we can actually say that I've really developed, my nature is very flexible and I'm really cooperative. We all know that we get tested, we get challenged. But certainly, as long as it's our aim, and certainly as long as in yoga, this beautiful word, sankalpa, which means your intention. So as long as my intention is, I want to achieve this sense of being more easygoing, having my nature to be more agreeable, whatever it is, letting go of anger, becoming more calm, dealing with stress, so many different things. As long as I'm working toward that, then I'm going toward achieving my goal. And to me, that is what how you develop a good meditation practice and how you develop a good yoga exercise practice, or hatha yoga. So I thought we could perhaps do, whilst we can't really see the screen, but I was thinking we could just do a couple of very gentle neck, head exercises. If anyone does have any severe neck exercises and you don't feel comfortable, I just invite you to roll your shoulders back, take a couple of deep breaths in and out, which we're going to do anyway, and just maintain, you can close your eyes or have your eyes open and just maintain a very, gentle breathing with the aim to go within and become very calm. But for those of us that are able to maybe take this a bit further, one of the key components in yoga is breath. The connection of the breath and the physical activity that you do. The breath that we do in yoga is called ujjayi breath. And this is where you actually constrict the throat together and you make quite an audible sound, a sort of, I don't know if you can hear that, but what that does is it calms down the central nervous system. And the whole idea is that, well, for me, my take on it is that it gives your mind something to focus on. One of the reasons why people enjoy doing exercise so much is because you have to focus on it and it brings you into the present moment. And so you're not getting lost in all the variety of things that your mind is thinking about. So it really stabilizes you mentally and emotionally. And that's often why we feel very good after a strong workout, after a really good yoga flow. And of course, on the other side of that, there's the meditation, which I'll talk about in a little bit later. So if we just start, I'd like you to roll your shoulders back. Have your feet just very gently on the floor. And I'd like you to engage in your breath now. So breathing in and exhaling out through the nose. Breathing in and can continue to breathe. And what this long, deep breath does, and this is what we will start a yoga practice. If you've ever done yoga before, you'll know that you start off with this, sitting down, taking some deep breaths in, relaxing the body. So as we breathe in, I'd like you to roll your shoulders back and exhale down and relax. Breathing in, rolling the shoulders up, exhaling around and relax. One more time, breathing in and then breathing out. Being silent. And now I'd like you to just take your hand, bring it to the other side of your head very, very gently, not even pushing, just touching on the top of the head and letting the neck go to your right hand side, to the right shoulder going down. And breathing in and exhaling out. Breathing in and exhaling out. Releasing and coming up. Taking the other hand, just gently, you're not pressing, just taking the hand over onto the head and letting your neck very gently go to the left-hand side. You can close your eyes if you want to, really pull your mind into the experience of this very gentle stretch, bringing your head back into center. Now we're just going to let the head come forward. Breathing in, breathing out. Gently bringing the head up. Letting the head come around very, very gently and very, very slowly. If you feel any pain, stop. Coming up and going the opposite direction. Breathing, letting yourself relax. And you'll note that neck exercises have they very easily begin to make you feel relaxed and calm. One of the nerves that it does impact when you're doing a neck exercise is the vagus nerve, which is a nerve that's connected from the brain to, I think, to the top of around your digestion. So maybe a little bit before the tummy, something like that. But it has a it's very connected to our gut. So that if I'm feeling stressed, if I'm feeling anxious, upset, then that can automatically travel through that nerve. And of course, by other means as well, but that can affect and impact our the nervous system and our digestion. And we're going to do one more exercise. So I'm just going to come back a bit. Just bring your hands out in front of you and just let your hands go around in circles. Breathing in and then exhaling. Go the other way. Very slow and mindfully being aware of what you're doing. Don't rush. Go slow. And coming down, we're going to take one hand, letting the palm show, and pulling the other back. And you're going to perhaps feel, you keep on doing it, a stretch coming down here. This is particularly good if you're on the computer all day. And through our downward dogs, through a lot of, which is a particular yoga pose, in the Hindi or Sanskrit word is Ardha Mukha Svanasana. So through this particular pose, And through many other poses we do, we really use the hands and help to strengthen the wrist. So let's do the other hand now. Really feel into that. You may feel quite a strong stretch. And then come back. And so they're just a couple of little yoga exercises that hopefully if you do them very slowly and mindfully, you can really feel yourself begin to calm down. And that linking of movement and breath is something that I find calms my central nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, which is really the part of you that will relax and calm down, and really brings you back into the present moment. Along with that, yoga for me has been something that I have used to maintain my fitness levels, to help with any stress or tension I may be having. I'm just turning my phone down, please excuse me. Any stress or tension I may be having. But it also allows you to get that body-mind link and connection. Sometimes we move along in life and we might get stressed or not even realize that my body is holding on to so much. I've had experiences, a very real experience actually, where I had bursitis on my back scapula, and I couldn't pull my, have my hand go around my back without it really, really hurting. I got an X-ray, I got an ultrasound. They said that they couldn't believe I could hold my hand up like that, like I could do that. He said he didn't think I shouldn't be able to lift it up any further than that. And I said, well, I think it's because of all the yoga I do. And then I just kept on. Of course, they said, well, you can take this, you can take that, all these sorts of things. And I just said, oh, I just didn't feel I needed to. Of course, if you do need to, you should. But at that time, I didn't feel I needed to take anything, and it wasn't that painful. But I kept on doing my yoga 2 or 3 times a week religiously. And funnily enough, one day I just realized that the bursitis had gone. And I did look it up, and it does say that through exercise and through yoga, you know, you can actually help ease or remove the bursitis. And so I had this experience, and I'm sure it's because of the yoga I did, and because there's so much you do there that you're moving and you're stretching, you know, all the different parts of your body that actually helped me get rid of that. So, and also the yoga exercise that I've done in tune with my meditation. So because I've been doing meditation for so many years, I very naturally incorporate that into my yoga. Now, there's many different types of yogas you can do. And I've gone through different phases in my life where I've done really very yang, very like quite a strong and powerful yoga, or very gentle flow of yoga. And even now, I think now I'm at a point in my life where I really enjoy a slow movement of yoga that's very flowing, full of breath and that meditation. And it can really help me to provide clarity in my mind, calm my mind down, and really bring a sense of happiness and well-being to my body. And I also find after a yoga practice, I'm able to sit down and meditate. I can fall very easily into a meditation practice. So with moving on into the meditation, unless, of course, if anyone has any questions, you're most welcome to let us know. But how have I found yoga? Well, with meditation, I have found it incredibly very similar in many ways, in that when we meditate, for me, it's been very much about the exercise of the mind. We learn the course of meditation, which I'm assuming, many of you probably have done the Brahma Kumari's Raj Yoga meditation course, or part of it, some form anyway. And we do have the things that we teach, how we meditate, etc. But as in yoga, how to really understand a pose, you've got to look at the intricacies of it, like really, having your shoulders straight, having, tucking the tailbone in, pulling up your core, making sure you breathe. There are so many very subtle internal cues that you might not see, but that you're actually doing. In the same way in meditation, there are many, whilst there's the practical way of being shown how to do it, then we have to take that and adapt it to ourselves and to our own personality. With my yoga practice, I would say I might do a vinyasa flow, which would be very similar to someone else, but it would have my stamp on it, depending on how I choose to do that yoga practice. So in the same way in meditation, we have to, the best way, what I would suggest is to take what you've learned or what you're learning and apply it into your life, into who you are as an individual. And then you make it your own. So while we do say, yes, we want to do that deep breathing, focusing on the different types of thoughts we have, it all comes back down to, though, who am I? What are the sorts of thoughts I have? What are the experiences in my life that have led me to where I am right now? And what are the core components in my personality or the experiences I'm having in my life that I would like to take from my meditation practice and apply that to really start to cultivate some change so I can become a happier, more peaceful, friendlier, more someone who has the ability to accept others and to be able to observe more, become more resilient in my life. So for me, meditation is a tool, just like yoga is a tool to develop more flexibility, to more internal harmony within the body and mind. Meditation is the tool, the key to help me unlock all the secrets that are maybe in my mind from all the different experiences I've had throughout my life, to help me to unlock all those little blocks that I might be having, so that then I can move forward and see some really, really super significant changes in my life. And once you start to do that, that motivates you, that gives you intoxication, it makes you feel really good, and it really starts to increase your self-respect and self-confidence. So if I link it back to yoga, I used to find doing squatting really difficult, and it would really hurt. I'd have to hold on to something because it was really hard on my hips. But over time, just recently, I've been finding that I can do it a lot easier, and it actually kind of feels good. And I see there's such a connection between the things that we hold inside our body and through our thoughts and what we hold inside our body. So often people will say in yoga, if you've ever done yoga before, they'll say, particularly in your hips is where we often hold on to things of the past. No, I don't go around thinking, well, what is it I'm holding on in my hips? But I'm just aware that, yeah, they're really, they used to be, well, they are still quite tight. But what I noticed was when I was doing a practice the other day, and I really, really relaxed into it, I felt something release. And I was able to link it to some changes within me that I'd been making. And it's not something I think about much, but it just popped into my mind. And I thought, wow, I can really feel a real benefit here, a real change in my physical body. And I knew just intuitively that it had a lot to do with something I'd let go within myself. Now, I don't think that's much of a stretch to believe or to think, yeah, that makes sense, because I, the soul, I, the being inside this body, I have a very, very close relationship to this body. I cannot, the spiritual being who I am, that we focus on when we meditate, the energy or the life force inside this body, I am the thing that keeps this body going. The first thing that is affected when I get angry, or if I'm sad, or if I get frustrated, or if I'm feeling hurt, it's the body that feels it. The mind, the body. We hold on to those things, whether we know it or not, into our shoulders, into our hips, into our legs, into the muscles of the body. And so that's why I believe it's incredibly important and so, so helpful to, whilst having your spiritual practice, it's really important to make sure you exercise and work in maintaining a healthy physical body. Because when you've got both of them working together, one supports the other. And if you've got a healthy body, it helps you with your immune system, and you're able to cope with, you know, any potential illnesses that may come your way. When you've got a healthy mind, you're able to be more resilient, to be able to deal with the challenges in life. One of the key things that I this one word that I love now, and something, and I know it's because it's been something that I have been working on for some time, and that's developing more inner resilience. And that's been resilience of the mind, but also resilience in challenging behaviors of others. I used to get very affected by other people and any challenges I might have at work and things like that. But what I've really worked on over the past few years is to learn how to bounce back from that, and to not take it so personally, so that something may be happening in my life. There could be something challenging, but I'm still okay within myself. My self-respect has not faltered too much. So I'm still able to, you know, be happy, to be able to be, you know, my personality or my mood doesn't change too much. When we haven't got the power of resilience in the mind, often what will happen is, if someone hurts you, if someone challenges you, if I get sick, anything happens, often I will fall into a heap, or I'll be super affected by it. And it might take me a long time. I literally feel like I'm, you know, climbing out of the bog that I've got myself into. But if we have an aim or an intention in my life at the moment, okay, I want to work on becoming more resilient, you'll find that that opens up so many wonderful opportunities of growth. And also, just in the same way as you've actually got to be interested in exercise, you've got to be interested in being fit and healthy. You've got to be interested in having a, you know, I'm not saying we have to be super fit and healthy, like that we're going to run a marathon, although if you do, that's fantastic. But it's just so that there's an element of exercise, moving the body every day. In the same way, to have that intention and to have that interest, to have a healthy mind, to have a mind that is stable, that is fit, that if something happens, I won't get sick, mentally sick, you know, so really fall into a heap, but I can actually stop, pull myself out of that. And the positive person, the person that has meditation as a core function in their life, will look for the solution rather than the problem. and I'll link it back to yoga. If there's a pose and I cannot, and at this point in time, there's just no way I can do the splits. Never have. I cannot see myself ever doing the splits. However, I don't just think, oh, I can never do them, and I won't even try. I just keep on. Whenever, I don't do it that much, but every now and then I'll have a go at doing the splits, or if it's in the class and they talk about it, I give it a go and I adapt it to or I modify it. There's always modifications to a way that works for me. In our journey of self-discovery, self-awareness, which is what meditation is all about, and what makes life truly exciting, is that I have a look and think, okay, well, I'm wanting to become more resilient, or I'm finding it really challenging at the moment. You know, I'm feeling a lot of frustration and fear. There's a lot of fear in my life. But then just let me think to myself, okay, well, let me just take one step at a time so that I can actually achieve that. And if it is fear, if I am feeling fearful about something or very concerned about a loved one, let me start to think about, well, how can I research coping mechanisms? How can I use my meditation so that I'm actually able to walk toward my goal, which is to be a little bit more detached, perhaps in a positive way, to be more resilient, as I've talked about, to be perhaps you're wanting to become a lot more kinder in my relationships with others. Maybe that's something I really struggle with. And so start to research kindness, look up resilience, find out about it, make it something you're interested in, then that motivates you. Then it becomes exciting because you learn a whole lot of new, different things. And then you think, okay, so how can I apply this into my meditation? So what I do is I set myself a time or a couple of times during the day where I meditate, and I never not do it. I always do it. First thing in the morning, a little bit during the day. Sometimes I'm very busy at work, but to be perfectly honest, 30 seconds can be incredibly powerful. To take a deep breath, I take my mind within and I focus on myself as the soul. So let's just do that now very quickly for that experience. So just sit comfortably and you can have your eyes open and just relax. Take your thoughts inward. To that place behind the center of the forehead, where I, the being of peace, reside. Take a deep breath. Become present. And come back into the present moment. That is incredibly effective. Sometimes people think I have to meditate for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. I can't exercise. I've got to exercise for, 35, 40 minutes. Not true. Whilst it's really good to give yourself that time to have a lengthy meditation, nothing better, because you really make significant inroads into your self-transformation and into what your aim and what you're working toward in your life. However, short bursts of meditation throughout the day are incredibly effective and essential in life. Just like in exercise. These days, I'm noticing more and more people are also looking for short, sharp exercise. So a short 10-minute yoga exercise class, 15-minute exercise class. And then, of course, there are 60 to 90 minute as well. So in the same way in meditation, we have our half an hour meditations. We have an hour meditation, but you can also have 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 seconds. So it just means that at any time during the day, I can go within, reconnect with who I am, take a deep breath and just reset the mind. If I don't reset the mind, if I don't reconnect with that part of me that knows its truth at as much as possible during the day, but I cannot stress enough to do it when you're feeling stressed or when you've got a lot on. And it's at those times that's when you take the nanosecond of meditation, where you just breathe in. Breathing calms the central nervous system, reconnect to that place behind the forehead where the being of peace, where I live. Reconnect with that self-awareness, pull away from the role, pull away from the obstacle, the situation, the challenge, the person, whatever it is. Pull away from yourself and give yourself just a few moments to reconnect and then get back into it. And the more you do that, it's actually incredibly useful because you're exercising your mind. And that exercise is going to make it stronger and stronger and stronger. So that then when you sit down at night and you've got 15, 20 minutes, half an hour to actually have a bit more lengthy meditation, it's going to be easy for you to slip into that. So I can see that I'm nearing that 8 o'clock time. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to, put them up there and you can feel free to ask. But I'll also just quickly touch a little bit more on meditation. So the meditation that, of course, we do here is very much based on our thoughts. One of the key components of the Brahma Kumaris Raj Yoga meditation in general, is our thoughts and how we use them and the impact they have and the vibration they carry and how that goes into the body and out into the atmosphere and how the way I think will impact my day without a doubt. One of the key things that I loved when I started doing the course was when I was introduced to the concept or the notion, and many of you may be aware of this, of the self as a soul, as a point of light, as energy separate to the body. And the most profound thing that this had on me was that experience of separateness to the body. So while it's a sense that, I have a jumper on and it's keeping me warm and it feels very comfortable, but I know I'm not this jumper, but yet I look after it so I can wear it and it'll last for a long time. Body is exactly the same. I'm wearing this costume and this costume is of a female named Fran, but I, the soul, am neither male nor female. I am energy. And to me, what that did, that started off a journey, it wasn't immediate, started off a journey that I go deeper and deeper into regularly, of understanding that all these roles that I play throughout the day are not who I really am. I'm playing different parts, I'm playing different roles. And not only am I, but other people are as well. And what that helped me with, it helped me to understand that anyone in my life at the moment they're just doing their best. They're playing their role. If I'm at work and maybe I've got a supervisor, someone who's a director or very high in the organization, and I might feel a little bit, I can't think of the word, intimidated. It helps me to just think, okay, this is my brother. This is a soul. They're just playing their part. When they go home, they're Tom, they're Jenny, whoever. It's just a role we're playing. I respect that role and I act accordingly with that role, but it is just a role. And what that does for me is it helps to create genuine relationships. I'm able to speak to someone and connect with others from a space of being transparent, and I see them for who they are. And as soon as you see someone for who they are, they're all their everything that they've built up around them, their roles that they're identifying with, often just fall away. And then you can have a really authentic relationship or connection with someone. So this is one of the key things that in my meditation practice that I personally have loved and do love and continue to love, exploring that sort of dynamic between who I am, the roles I play during the day, and how the thoughts I have effectively create my world, create my personality, create the experiences I've had, and how having that real interest in a particular area of self-change, which I variety is very important, so I'll change regularly, but to have that interest, I find then what that does is it kind of ripples out into all different parts of your life. People start talking about resilience, which is something I've been thinking about. As I said, all of a sudden there's a workshop at work on resilience. All these things started to open up for me, and I started to really understand it, and it's an incredibly interesting topic. So these have just been a few thoughts that I've had on this topic, on meditation and yoga. And I'd like to invite anyone, if you'd like to ask any questions, or if Jackie has any questions for me.
So anyone, you can unmute yourself and come into the chat. I'm also interested in this aspect of resilience, Fran. And there's something in Anthony's commentary, his reflection, that always intrigues me. It's this going deeper and deeper and deeper into the self. And so how do you think about that? How do you think about that deeper, deeper? What does that mean?
I think something that I would say, the less thoughts I have, the more space I have in my mind.
Good.
And in my meditation, one of the things that I've been experimenting with lately, and in fact during the day, is having less thoughts. Technically, I've known about it's good not to have too many thoughts for all the years I've been doing my meditation. However, for some reason, in the past few weeks, or maybe a month or so, I've really, really started to think, okay, I don't have to particularly have thoughts, even positive thoughts, be generating thoughts all the time. I can have some space between those thoughts. And I found that by doing that during the day, consciously, just checking in and very gently letting my thoughts go, then what I have found is that when I sit down to have my meditation, I can fall into a gentle space of quietness. And then when I fall into this quietness in my mind, it's like there's a natural awakening or of the self, and a very naturally go deeper and deeper into myself. I often feel that the more thoughts I have, even if they're really positive, and even if they're of a deeply spiritual nature, but if I'm constantly generating thoughts, I'm not allowing for that space for the depth of being to emerge and to come up, and for all those facets of the self that maybe we don't always identify with or see or give ourselves time to explore. And I also find that in that silence, often the thing that you've been thinking about, whether it be resilience or kindness, often that gives space for those for those thoughts or ideas to emerge as well.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because even Anthony was saying that the more deeper I go, as you've said, then there's a natural kind of silence and peacefulness, and an emergence of the consciousness of the self, even love. So there's like a feeling comes out of that silence. So interesting, because it's not the aim I went into to get that feeling. But when I get into that silence and that kind of peacefulness, there's a feeling of love and really contentment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where, and automatically, it sort of cultivates a sense of self-respect and self-confidence, self-awareness. And so for me, Raj Yoga, Brahma Kumari's Raj Yoga meditation is very much a meditation on developing self-awareness and, sort of learning so much about myself, which I personally find to be incredibly exciting.
And it's something that actually many of us, there's a poem, I can't remember the author, but in it says that Mr. Brown lived so many feet from his body. And sometimes I think that awareness isn't there. We really don't know what's going on. But there's a question. Can I just refer to it? But there's an appreciation. Thank you, Fran. Your advice is really helpful. It's helpful to see challenging people as other souls, just in a role, and doing their best, and it's also helpful trying to create genuine relationships. It's really a comment, but yeah, the fact.
Speaking of challenging relationships, someone said to me once that if someone is, say you're having a challenge with someone and it's a continual thing, you can them a lot, can't get away from it. Often what we do is, what I find is, it's almost like each time around that person and I'm triggered, it's almost like it's a new reaction. And I was told, don't be surprised, almost accept it. It's not that you're saying, it's like, don't be surprised when that person behaves in a particular way. And what that did for me was it really helped me on the journey to develop a level of acceptance for that person. And I was able to almost cooperate and work with them a lot better because I wasn't being reactive over that behavior that triggered me. Does that make sense?
It's interesting, Fran, because you're saying that, let me see, is this what you're saying, feedback, that when I had a reaction to them in an old way, I probably thought a lot about that and triggered me and so on. But then when they came at me and it was a new way, So it was different. And so.
No, that's not. Sorry, maybe I'm not explaining myself very well. But it's more like if I'm around someone and they're constantly and they're very negative.
Yep.
Well, when I'm going to meet them the next day, I'm already aware. Don't be surprised that they're probably going to be negative. So therefore, there's just there automatically is an element of I can calm down because I already know that it's quite likely this person's going to be like that, and so I'm not so reactive. So it was like this person at work said to me, just sort of have a practice, just sort of accepting that, that's what they're like, and don't be surprised if when you see them on Monday that they're going to be negative because that's how they have been, that's how they are at the moment for whatever reason. Yeah. And so that I stopped being so reactive then. That
does make sense. Yep. I think we all have challenging relationships. So anyone out there would identify with this and wants to make a comment. Yeah.
That's life. That's life.
Yes, that's life. And it's a big learning process if you look at it like that too, isn't it? And it is exciting because then one day you're not reacting. You think, oh,
correct.
It's me, I have succeeded. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that
and
person really is quite nice.
and I think that, you know, the more we can stop having expectations on others, change their behavior. And I think that's what I meant by that thing of acceptance, like let go of the expectation that they're going to change, see them next. Then I think and once you let go of that expectation and even that reaction, then they may change because you're not buffing off each other,
Mm.
you know?
And I guess too, Fran, hey, that it must be a real relief for someone if you're just
Mm.
accepting them and you're not going gritting your teeth or drawing your six
100%.
guns or whatever. I always think that how good you feel when it's your birthday party and there's a party for you and you go and everyone's giving you good wishes. It's a great feeling. So imagine
Mm.
if someone's constantly negative, and suddenly they don't get a reaction, they get a good feeling. It must
Yeah.
be quite something special. Here's a question. Can you please let me know if you have any online classes that teach neck and low back strengthening yoga exercises? So that is neck and low back strengthening yoga exercises. Any classes?
All I know, I don't know specifically, but on YouTube, if you can type in yoga for lower back, yoga for neck. YouTube is a platform that has many, 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 many videos, and you've got to and many, many meditation commentaries as well. So you've got to sort of try and find out what you like. And the vagus nerve that I was talking about, which is very much linked to the neck. If you were to type in vagus, VAGUS, I think it is, nerve exercises. I do know because I saw it. There is one on YouTube, and that's all very neck related. And you could also just put in YouTube lower back yoga exercises, and I could pretty much guarantee that you'd come up, you'd be able to find some things. And then it's just a matter of looking at it and seeing what suits you, because as I was saying, what I like might not suit you. So you've got to try and find what will work best for your body.
Is that okay? You can do that straight off without having had a yoga regime beforehand, or you know, knowing how to breathe, or you can do an isolated exercise like that.
Yeah, I think as long as you can also note down for beginners as
Uh,
well.
oh, be good. Yeah.
But what I recommend is that if for me, when I exercise, I always I'm very gentle, especially if it's something I haven't done before. I don't push myself too hard. Things like the neck and the lower back are super sensitive. So you've got to be really careful, as you know, if you have any challenges in that way. So, as I said on YouTube, there are a lot of things, but then you've got to do your own due diligence and duty of care for yourself to make sure that you're very mindful and don't go into anything, especially if you've got really bad neck pain or back pain. Then I would probably suggest you go to your physio to seek, to get exercises. But if it's just generic and you're just wanting to do them, then definitely you can get those platforms, social media platforms such as YouTube, and find things.
Gentleness has pulled me into thinking, how's that analogous with thoughts and
What's
the mind? How,
sorry?
when you say you be gentle, don't push yourself, how would you make that analogy with your mind and your thoughts as well? To be gentle with yourself. Hmm.
I think what comes to mind just immediately when you ask that question is I'm very much have learned to, in that sense, like I was talking about accepting another person for how they are,
Mm.
to accept myself.
Mm.
And I used to be very, very hard on myself. I'm sure we've all had those experiences, and maybe we still do. But what I learned is being hard on the self is like going against a brick wall. That's the energy you're pushing. Whereas allowing yourself to say, okay, this is how I'm feeling right now, and to be okay with that. Sometimes I think when we push, we're almost making things worse. But say I'm feeling very angry. Sometimes I might think to myself, oh, I shouldn't be feeling angry. Why? I'm such a bad person, and this is so hard. I'm never going to conquer it. And this is really difficult. But to actually say to yourself, okay, I'm feeling angry right now. And I would suggest you will feel, I mean, even just saying that myself, it just makes you feel, I'm feeling very heavy in my head right now, for example. I think as soon as you say to your mind and acknowledge that that's how you're feeling, it's the first step to calming it and relaxing. Often when we're really hard on ourselves, we make it look worse than it really is. And we make it bigger than what it really is. But if I say, I'm feeling, I am feeling really angry right now, and that's okay. But I'm also going to work at releasing this, and how can I change this? What's the way for me to be able to, what's the lesson, what is this anger teaching me right now? And if as soon as you start to change the flow of your thoughts and that narrative or the story that's going on in your mind into more of a more fruitful, dynamic, inquisitive way of thinking, I think then that's when you're opening yourself to learn. That anger is actually going to be something that will make you a better person, because you're going to start looking at it in a different way.
That is such good wisdom, very, really deep wisdom, and practical.
Yeah.
There's some questions, and you just excuse me while I have a look. Okay, the yoga exercises. Yes, amazing point. When we start responding instead of reacting. Okay, this back to this work situation. Instead of reacting, that's how we get our power back, and we empower people around us. There's another one. Someone's informing us that as well as the International Yoga Day, it's International Music Day today too. I'll play some Bliss after this, they said. I'll play some Bliss after this.
Favorite.
Yes, yes. I'm glad they didn't ask you to sing, Fran. They just said they'd take
So would you all be.
Okay. I think what you've just been saying, and right through with that you've been saying, so practical, Fran. And I've liked your examples as well. Let me see, anything? All right. Are you all happy out there that we get Fran to lead us in a meditation then, and a reflection, and we just sit back and relax and breathe nicely and naturally and do whatever she says?
And then at the end, we just finish off. Is that right?
That's right, yes. Yep. Then we'll close off with an Om Shanti. Yeah.
Right. So firstly, I'd just like to thank everyone for sharing the past hour or so with me together. And even though it may not have been super interactive and I couldn't see you, I certainly felt your vibration and I felt your presence. So I felt we were connecting and going through this journey together of exploration in yoga and meditation. Yoga being the exercise, meditation being the journey of the mind. And so let's just come together now. And I like to start my meditation off with taking some deep breaths, very slow, very gentle. And long, all the way to the top of the head and all the way down. Breathe it in. And just let your body relax. Breathing in. And allow the mind to quieten down. And I invite you to even imagine a very beautiful lake that is very still and quiet. And that is your mind. Very still. Very quiet. Very calm. And in this calmness, when I begin to really feel the calm waters of the mind, I feel the space. I feel the stillness that is there between the thoughts. I feel the personality that is me begin to surface. The lightness of being, the peace, the quietness. I feel an acceptance of myself and for others begin to gently trickle through the spaces between thought. I feel the waves of peace gently begin to ripple through my mind. And I begin to feel really, really good inside. When I let my thoughts slow down, when I allow the space between thought to open, the truth of myself, of my inner being, begins to emerge. The very sweet vibration that is unique to me begins to trickle through and saturate my mind. Anything that was a big deal is no longer a big deal when I allow the truth of myself to be free. My mind is relaxed. My breathing is slow and steady. This physical body is incredibly calm and relaxed. And in this state of mind, where my thoughts are few, my mind begins to recalibrate back to its center. When the body is in tune with that vibration emanating from the mind, everything starts to recalibrate back to its center. Stressful, anything in my shoulders, the digestion, my jaw, everything starts to relax, to unwind. And the longer the spaces are between my thoughts, the more peaceful I begin to be. And I can just enjoy being in the present moment, in the stillness and the beauty of the now. So let's just sit here for a few seconds longer. And enjoy the collective silence. And just rest on the peace we have created. Yeah.
Om Shanti, Fran, and Om Shanti, everyone. But thank you. That actually took us into a deep, deep place of quietness. Very nice indeed.
Collective experience.
The collective experience, as you said. Yes, lovely.
Thank you.
We'll say good night, everyone.
Good
Om
night,
Shanti.
everyone. Om
Rest
Shanti.
well. Rest well.